everyone. Happy Monday. This is our Bright Spot video for Monday, May 15th. And if you are watching this video for the first time, either on YouTube or you've recently joined the group and this is your first video, well, first off, welcome to the Bright Spot videos. My name is Taryn Hewitt. I am a work-life balance coach, and I am also the organizer of the Facebook group Work-Life Balance for Overachievers. And this Bright Spot video is something that we do every week within the group with the idea of, first off, making Monday a bright spot in our week. A lot of times people are starting the work week off on a Monday, and so a lot of times can be some negative Monday thoughts, and we want to help expel those with this video by helping to provide quick tips, quick ideas, things that you can apply right away in your week to help improve your work-life balance and ultimately create more time for yourself. So with this, well, first off, actually, before I dive into the video, I want to do just a super fast reminder because we are now officially 1 week away from our upcoming challenge that is going to be held specifically within the Facebook group. Again, that's Work-Life Balance for Overachievers. And this is actually going to be a 5-day time management challenge called Stop Wasting Time and Get More Done. If this is something that sounds interesting to you, be sure to click the link at the bottom of the YouTube video for the group if you're not already in it. If you're in the group, then the event is actually pinned at the top of this screen that you're looking at right now. And with this challenge, so a couple things to know with it. First off, it is a self-paced challenge to a degree, right? There's going to be some videos, there's going to be a guide that you can follow. So it's going to be really easy for you to fit it into your time. But then there will be different phases that you're trying to work through throughout the week. And the goal is ultimately to identify and eliminate a specific time-wasting behavior that you know you have, something that you've been wanting to get rid of for a while, and then replace it with a new productive behavior that will ultimately help you achieve more with what you're already working on. And then that will ultimately give you more time back in your day for the things that are really important for you. So again, if that's something that sounds exciting, we're 1 week away. It's coming very soon. So check out that link, and I hope to see everybody there. Now, all of that being said, let's dive into today's topic. So today's topic is actually going to be a little bit of a continuation from last week. So last week, we talked a lot about how to take productive breaks. And I was thinking about it a little bit over the week and decided to follow up a little bit more. So we're still going to talk about the importance of taking a break today, but we're really going to talk about it in the vein of how to pay attention to your body's cues, right? So the reason that I was really thinking about this is because our body's cues, whether it's our physical cue, a mental cue, right? Like those signs and the different sensations that we feel in our bodies are really amazing tools that we can use to help tell us what we need, what's going on, what we should pay attention to, or what we might want to consider paying attention to. And I think the majority of people are not, and I factor myself into this in some cases too, right? But I think the majority of people are not necessarily great at actually listening to those cues. So especially if you have a high pressure job or something that can be a little bit more stressful going on, right? I think it's a pretty normal thing for many of us to see them, maybe acknowledge them lightly, if at all, but then just push through them with the goal of trying to get things done, right? And there's definitely something positive to be said on the one hand, right? You're still getting things done, but I think the question here and the point around talking about breaks in general is that when you listen to what your body really needs and you feed your body, you feed your mind, you work with it instead of working against it, you're ultimately always going to get more done and then feel better about it. So can you ignore your body's cues and keep pushing? Absolutely. Will you get your work done? Will you get will you accomplish what it is that you want? Probably, but you're probably not going to feel great about it. And then I'm going to say that that I really think it's going to take longer too. So there is a mutual benefit for you if you actually pay attention to this and learn about this a little bit more. So I've already talked a lot about, I mean, that's kind of diving in quickly into why our body's cues are so important. But there's a couple other things that I really want to hit on with that first. So it's really, our body's cues are really, really interesting because if you've ever noticed, our body's cues tend to mirror what it is that we're feeling in the moment. And this is why they become such a great indicator or something great to pay attention to kind of help yourself even understand what's actually happening. So I'm going to give you an example that hopefully makes a lot of sense. It always made sense to me when I first heard it. So let's say that you are getting ready to do a presentation of some kind or speak in front of people, right? And that's something that's really uncomfortable for you. It's very likely that in that case, if you're in a space of discomfort or you're uncertain or you have a lot of doubts, right? Like our bodies tend to kind of like hunch in and try to make ourselves smaller. It's like our natural instinct to kind of close in and almost like protect ourselves. And so it's this idea that you're scared, you don't want people, may not be comfortable with people looking at you, you may not feel confident, and so you're almost like physically trying to make yourself smaller in order to protect yourself, and you probably don't even realize that you're doing it. Right? And so on the flip side of that, what they say is if you're trying to learn to be a better speaker or you're trying to build confidence, that what you really should do is you should make your body mimic what it would do if you were confident, right? So I've heard the example before, and in fact, I have used this before, of the superhero pose. So I don't really have a good space to stand up, but the superhero pose, you've probably seen it before. It's kind of standing with your legs apart and then your chest up, your shoulders back, and your head lifted, right? It's this really confident, powerful pose. And that's because people who are really confident and have a lot of faith in themselves, right? They sit like that, right? Because they're not scared. They don't need that additional layer of like physical protection because they feel great about themselves. So I'm talking about that a lot because I think that's a really good example. But if you take that concept and then you think about what your body does in situations where you need a break, right? Like it's telling you that same thing, right? Like you may not realize in that moment that you're hunching small before a presentation. You may not realize in the moment that your brain, you've been staring at the same page for 3 minutes, right? Like that's a really good cue from your body or your brain that you probably need to take a break if you're just staring at the screen and you haven't done anything, right? But I say all those things because we oftentimes don't recognize those. But learning to recognize them is a really powerful way to increase our awareness and then make it easier to actually start taking those breaks and start taking care of ourselves in other ways. And then knowing that mirroring aspect can be really great too, because you can also then use that to your advantage and do the opposite, right? So on the same token, if you just like you're staring at the screen for a few minutes is your brain's way of telling you that you're confused or maybe you're tired or you're lost. If you go, no, okay, I'm gonna take a break. I have confidence. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna have this really confident pose, right? Like when you sit down and you're eager to get started, it can help rejuvenate that too. But you just need to like give yourself that moment, like that moment to center, that moment to focus. That's what breaks are all about. So, in last week's video, we talked a lot about the breaks themselves. So I'm not going to go into those. If you're interested in that, I definitely recommend checking the video. What we're going to talk about more today is signs that you probably do need to take a break. So there's one that I already mentioned a few moments ago, which is staring at the screen for several minutes without taking action. So I kind of think of this as that glazed over expression. And I know I've done it. I'm sure you've done it too, where you have something up, you're planning to do some kind of work, and then you just kind of realize that your brain has drifted. You've been staring at the same screen or the same page for several minutes and have taken no action at all. That's probably a good sign that you need to stand up, go for a walk, do some other break that we talked about in last week's video to kind of refresh yourself. The other thing that I would say is if you're trying to figure out something and you just can't, right? So this is almost more of like a mental cue rather than a physical cue. But I say that because in general, I believe everybody watching this call is an extremely intelligent person, right? And so if it's something that you should be able to figure out and you're just not, your brain's probably tired, right? You probably need, again, some kind of break. It doesn't have to be long. It can be just a few minutes, but I encourage you to try that break in that moment and then just come back and see how much that change of environment or that change of thought process can reinvigorate your thoughts when you are dealing with a specific problem. Now, going back to more physical cues, one that you can pay attention to that I think a lot of people probably experience is some kind of increased heartbeat or sense of anxiety while jumping around from task to task, right? So that's something if you're in a highly stressful situation or you're having a little bit of a stressful day, like our brains are more likely to jump around, have a hard time focusing, and you might feel the sense of anxiety around getting things done. That's probably one of the places that the majority of us struggle the most to actually take a break, because you're in this place of feeling like you can't get everything done, right? That's actually a prime indicator that you do need a break. Again, we're not talking an hour break. It could just be a few minutes, but just like a moment to center yourself, to do some deep breathing, to go outside. We talked about, being out in nature or being in a cityscape being something that's really calming. Like pay attention to what's happening in your body and like address it for your own sake, for your body's sake, and for your own sake, and the sake of the work that you're actually doing, right? The other one that's a really good example is if you're feeling tension in your neck or shoulders related to frustration. So maybe you're having a rough day or you just got out of a meeting that really made you angry, right? Like it's going to be hard to then switch from that to focusing or going to the next task right away, because your body is so tense and your brain is probably just as tense, right? So taking a moment can be amazing in a situation like that. Now, there are also a lot of physical signs that you may need to do something that's more than a break, right? So signs that, and I'm going to tell you, I have dealt with these physical signs. A lot of them are ones that I've personally been through, so I can 100% relate if anybody's going through them. But I think they're worth calling out in this particular situation. Some physical signs that you may need to take more than a break might be things like eye twitching, ongoing muscle tension, difficulty sleeping, weight gain, a constant sense of tiredness. So I call those all out because we're ultimately talking about paying attention to your body's cues, right? And I say that those might need more than a break. That doesn't mean, okay, you were going to take a 5-minute break, now go take an hour and you're fine. What I mean by that is that those physical cues oftentimes are indicators of more chronic long-term stress. And so, I mean, again, just like the other physical cues, it's really easy to ignore them. Some of them you might like, I will tell you, the eye twitching, I've had eye twitching before with chronic stress and had to learn to address it. And it's hard to ignore. So some of these are easier to ignore than others, but the longer they go unaddressed, the longer they actually take to resolve. So again, it just everything kind of comes back to that core idea that we're talking about, which is the better you are at recognizing these cues, the better you are at taking action on them right away, the better it is for you, for your body, and for your work, right? So everything benefits when you pay attention to your body and when you take breaks. So this is the challenge that I'm going to give anybody who wants a challenge this week, which, I always find things like this helpful. So hopefully you do too. So do it too, goodness. So the challenge this week is just to pay attention to your body's cues. So you don't necessarily have to try to work out what it is that they're saying, but I just want you to pay attention, right? So when you're doing work, and it doesn't have to be specific to taking a break, but it can just be like, what is your body doing in the moment? As you're experiencing different things throughout your workday or throughout your personal life, like what is your body doing in those moments? What are some signs that your body's giving you about how you feel about that situation or whatever is going on, right? Just start paying attention to them. And then if you want to take it a step further, I do absolutely love doing awareness journaling. And so physical cues could be a really great one to do, where you actually sit down and you do start to try to make those connections. Like, I noticed this with my body today. This is what I think is happening. I noticed this with my body today. This is what I think is happening. The more you become aware of these things, the bigger positive impact it's going to have on everything that you do. So hopefully you found that helpful. I will do one last wrap up. So for anybody who is interested in that time management challenge, that is going to start a week from today. It's going to run May 22nd through Friday, May 26th. And it is available in the Facebook group Work-Life Balance for Overachievers. So I hope to see you there. I hope you have a fantastic week, and we will see you next week. Bye.